it's Eva here. Today I will show you how to insert side pockets to a dress. Before we start, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell button at the bottom of this video. Let's do it. I was given this dress that a friend purchased, and it doesn't have pockets, so she wanted to have some pockets inserted, and I said why not do a video about it to show you how you can do that. Summer 2019 is the season of all pockets. Pockets are a big thing right now, and I hope they're here to stay because pockets do signify independence, and this is why for a long time women's garments didn't have pockets, because women didn't have any independence. So start inserting pockets in your clothes. I think it's a great first step to try and put side pockets on a dress or in a dress that you already have. It will be more comfortable, you'll be able to put your keys in it without worrying about having a big bag, and it will detail a little bit. First thing that we need to do is to determine where we want the pockets to be. So I've got the waistline here, and on this side I've measured it whilst it was on the body of the person whose dress it is, and I only did one side and I thread marked it. So what I'm going to do is do the same on the other side. Because I already have the first side, I could just measure from the waist down to the first thread mark. From the waist, that is 12.5 centimeters down. So I'm gonna just put a little mark, 12.5 centimeters down from the side, which is essentially, let's lay it flat. It's 12.5, it's here. There we go. Just a little thread mark. I could of course use pins, but I find that thread marking doesn't leave as large marks, especially for certain materials, and it's the better practice. We also determined when we were measuring, when she was wearing the dress, how big she wanted the opening to be. That's important because your hand needs to go through it. We measured it 13 centimeters, so I'm just going to do that and measure on the other side from the thread mark that I've just done down to 13 centimeters, which is here, and I'm just going to thread mark that. So now we're ready to create the pattern. So I have a piece of pattern paper, and you don't need to use pattern paper, you can use just normal paper, but pattern paper is thinner, so it's better when you pin it to the garment or to the fabric they're using. I've got a sharp pencil, and I also have a pattern master. You can use a normal ruler. The pattern master is quite good for curves. I'm going to just draw a line, just a long line like this, and I'm going to just make a marking somewhere, like somewhere on the top of the line, doesn't matter where too much. And then from this marking we're going to go down 13 centimeters. Remember the 13 centimeters that the opening is going to be? This is what we're doing here, we're creating the opening, so that's 13 centimeters down. There we go. So the hand's gonna go through this bit. On the top, I'm just going to just square across just a bit, and I think for the bottom we want the pocket to be a little bit longer, so somewhere around here, that'll be a good overall total length. and I'm just going to, on the top, the pattern master is quite good for this kind of thing because I could just mark it here, but leave that, and then just I'm going to decide how big I want it, so just about a centimeter wider. Where I've got a curve here, I'd want it a bit tidier. Good thing to have a razor while you do this kind of thing. It helps. That's better. You can do this with a normal ruler, just need to do it gradually, just little dots. Yeah, I'd say that's a good one. You go in and there's enough space for your fingers. That's what we want from a pocket. We're also going to add two things. One is a grain line, which will indicate how we're cutting the pieces of the pocket. I'll create the grain line parallel to this line, so that makes it perpendicular to the hem, which would be down here. And I'm just going to do that. If you're not sure what a grain line is, I found a really great short video. It's not my video, but that was a really good video, and I have put it in the I will put it in the description for you to have a look. And what I'm going to do is I want to add some seam allowance, and also the other thing that I want to do is here, so the pocket will be added where we've got pocket opening, but also this is the rest of the pocket is a pocket bag, and this will be flapping a little bit. So what I'm going to do is along here I'm going to measure 1 centimeter in like this, and then connect the marking I've just made to the marking where the bottom of the opening is. That means that this part that I'm just drawing now is not going to go into the seam of the garment. So the pocket will only be attached along the opening. When I show you, it will be very, very obvious. So I'm gonna just get rid of this bit, and all we need to do now is in terms of pattern making, add some seam allowance. I will add 1.5 centimeters. There we go, that's our pocket pattern done. It might look a little big, but it's actually not. So I'm just going to cut it. Make sure you iron your fabric, and we've got our lovely little pattern. And because per pocket you need 2 of these, we need to cut 4, and we also need 2 of them to be the other way. So I'm just going to cut on the fold. There we go, that's good. And I'm just going to pin it. So our grain line is parallel to the fold. And we should have 4 pieces. So we usually, when you do pockets, you do each step at the same time, but for the sake of not keeping you here for about an hour, I'm going to do the first pocket to show you how to do it. We need to unpick in between our markings. This is our opening, and we need to unpick this on both sides. Like I said, I'm just going to do the one side. Now, it's very important what the seam underneath looks like. There are different types of seam finishes, and the most common finish is this, which is a single overlock, where your seam allowances on either side are overlocked together. This is the least ideal situation, because normally with more high-end garments you'd have the overlocking on either side. So all you need to do is just unpick this bit and not worry about this overlocking because it stays on either side. But it's inevitable that we have to unpick it for here, because otherwise we can't have an opening, because the overlocking keeps these together. Now this strikes me as some form of a linen cotton mix, and because of that it means fraying will occur, which doesn't make me feel very happy. So we need to make sure that as soon as we unpick this, we need to tidy things and make sure they're secure so further unraveling doesn't happen. So let's quickly unpick the main bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take hand needle. You could do this as well with a machine if you have zigzag stitch. I'm going to do it by hand though. I'm going to grab some thread that's light enough. Yeah, perfect. And I'm going to double it up. There we go. And what I'm going to do is, where we've got this that we started unraveling, we just are going to go in and then go in the loop like this, and just do a few loops to secure the stitching from unraveling, just around, just so. Lovely. And then we're going to do this on this side as well. Again, I could take that off because I've already unpicked. Okay, and the other thing that we're going to do is we also need to secure the stitching. I don't know whether you could see it, but there's stitching here, which is the first line of stitching we unpicked, so we need to secure it by machine on either side. So I'm placing the needle where I've stopped unpicking, and we're going to go over the stitch and back. So we've got some stitching over that stitching that would otherwise unravel, and I'm going to do exactly the same on the top of the opening as well. I'm going to show you on this side because I used blue for the bottom, and you could see how I've got it here and here, so it's all secure now. And if I did that, it won't unravel, which is basically a good test to do before you even apply the pocket. We could see here that we've got our opening. We could check, make sure that it's good enough for our hands to go through. And I've got our pieces here, and what we're doing is we're having the smaller bit on the side where the waist is, and then of course the wider bit goes towards the hem. And this is the bit where we've got opening and we've got the seam allowance. Now you remember our seam allowance is 1.5 centimeters, which is good. So I'm going to go, but this doesn't have right and wrong side, which makes it easier. But if you're working with printed material, you'd want to go right sides together, so the print is actually at the under here at the bottom, and that goes together with the garment. I need to make sure that's 1.5 centimeters above where the actual opening is, like this. That's the first thing we need to do, and then move it. And what I'm going to do after this, I'm actually going to pin this way. This is where our pocket ends, so I'm just indicating where it ends, and I'll indicate where it starts as well, just for a minute. There we go. And I'm going to move these pins on this side because that's the side we'll be stitching onto, and I'm doing it one pin at a time. And now we could very clearly see the difference of the seam allowances, but there is a reason. Just wait for it. Keep watching to see the reason. Okay, and then I'm going to move this pin down here because that will show me when I'm going to stop stitching. And I'm going to pin this here. And I'm going to do exactly the same whilst I'm on the machine as well for the other side. So on the other side of the opening, again, I'm going to put this right sides together, and here I've got this bit that shows me how much to leave anyway, and then I'm just going to pin it and stitch, and I'll do that whilst I'm on the machine. Okay, right, so once we've done this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this over like that, and I'm going to now stitch the pocket bag to the seam allowances. My fabric is fairly see-through, so I could see very well. I'm just going to pin. What this will do is it will ensure that the pocket fabric stays well on the inside, and it's something that you always want to do when you do this, otherwise it'll just poke out a little bit and it's not good, is it? Could use a longer stitch. I'm just going to quickly stitch the other side as well, exactly in the same way. Okay, as you can see, our opening's looking good. You could see our stay stitch has moved the actual pocket bags inwards towards the reverse, which is why we did it. Now, if we go to the inside, it won't look as tidy at this point, but that's okay. We're going to tidy it. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm going to pin these together all around. We're going to stitch all the way around. The last step is, and we'll need to do some ironing in a minute, but the last step is we tuck all of these together so it's nice and neat. So where we've got this area, we're just going to fold over like this and start pinning. But what would work best is to actually iron first. Can you see how much tidy this looks? And then the other thing we're going to do is continue on from here, and for all around we're going to do the same thing on both sides. So like this, because when we stitch them down they'll be nice and neat. Now don't forget you've got two sides where the opening is, so that's one and that's the other. So do the same on both sides. I never use pins as I'm ironing. I use them after because I don't want to scratch the iron. If you look at some of your garments, you might find that this is overlocked, but I can't presume everyone's got an overlocker, which is why we're doing this. The reason why I'm not using bias binding for this, to bind the edges is because I don't actually have bias binding that's white, and because the dress is quite light, and I wouldn't say see-through, but if I put a different color, like darker color binding, it will definitely show, and that's not what we want. So here it is. I've got the side pockets all ready and they're very comfortable, and as you can see, they're well done. I'm going to show you what it looks like inside out as well. It looks like this. So we've got the pockets here like this. You could, if you wish, tack the front so it stays at the front, just with a little single tack on either side. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you have, be sure to subscribe, like this video, share it with people that you think it will be useful to, and let me know in the comment section below what you want me to do next. By the way, do you remember this? I did this a few episodes ago out of rubbish I found on the beach, a shoe sole to be precise. If you haven't seen this episode and you want to have a look, I will put it somewhere up here. Give it a click, and I hope you enjoy it. Until next time, have a great week ahead. I'll see you later.